Two versions of you, one lifetime of love. Why was I still breathing? Why did the echo of screeching brakes and shattering glass still ring in my ears if I was supposed to be dead? Why did the pain feel so real, so sharp, as if my body hadn't been crushed inside a twisted card just moments ago? And if I truly survived, then why were people laughing around me, their voices dripping with mockery, their eyes burning with malice? I opened my eyes. Too bright, too loud, too familiar. Desks made of scratched wood, sunlight cutting through dusty classroom windows, the hum of an old ceiling fan, the smell of chalk and teenage sweat mixing in the air. Laughter erupted somewhere behind me, sharp and cruel, like it had rehearsed this moment 100 times. Then a voice sliced through. Everything. Emily Carter. I don't need this. Get lost. My heart slammed violently against my ribs. Emily Carter. That was my name. I stared up at the boy standing in front of me. White school uniform, tall and clean-cut, sharp features everyone adored, brows furrowed in clear irritation. His gaze locked onto the envelope in my hands like it was something filthy. Ethan Brooks. The honor student. The school god. The boy everyone loved. The boy who ruined me once. Wait. Wasn't I just sitting in a boardroom at Carter Global Holdings, signing contracts, listening to executives argue about market expansion? I could still remember the cold glass table under my fingers, the vibration of my phone reminding me of another meeting. So why was I standing here, holding a plain white envelope, surrounded by faces far too young? I lowered my gaze slowly. A letter. My fingers trembled. No, not a letter. A nightmare. Around me, identical white uniforms, teenage faces glowing with anticipation, eyes hungry for drama. The sound of whispers spread like fire. Senior year. Grade 12. The realization hit me like a punch. I wasn't dreaming. I had gone back. Before I could even breathe properly, someone beside Ethan whistled loudly, deliberately drawing attention. Come on, Ethan, just take it. That's Emily's sincere confession. Another boy laughed, quick to join in. How could he? Everyone knows Ethan only likes Lily White. Some people really don't know their place. Then he turned to me, his gaze sliding over my body without shame, stopping just long enough to sting. Not everyone is qualified to aim that high. I clenched the envelope so tightly the edges bent. I remembered them. Jason Miller, who once stood beside Ethan in debate competitions just to borrow his shine. And Ryan Cole, Lily White's loyal dog, always barking when she pointed. In my previous life, these were the boys who cut me off before I could explain, who tore the envelope from my hands, who shouted love letter loud enough for the entire school to hear. They laughed while I stood frozen, powerless, crushed. That day destroyed everything. I was the overweight girl who dared to confess to the school genius. The joke of Lincoln High. Bullied for over half a year. Mocked, isolated, humiliated until my mind cracked and sank into darkness. Depression swallowed me whole. College entrance exams became a blur, and my future collapsed into mediocrity. But that was my past life. This time, I was awake. This enough. My voice cut through the noise, calm to the point of being frightening. The laughter stalled. I didn't even know this was a love letter. I looked directly at them, my gaze. Study. Someone told me it contained important study materials. A few scoffs followed. I raised the envelope slightly. Before I could give it to Ethan, you snatched it and tore it apart. Then you labeled me in front of everyone. My tone dropped, slow and cold. As for the person who staged this so I'd believe it was study material, you know damn well who the trash really is. Jason's face flushed red. You fat. He swallowed the name he almost said. I smiled. Yes, I'm fat. My eyes sharpened. But being someone's obedient little tool, doing whatever you're told. That's truly pathetic. Ryan stepped forward, furious. What did you say? I tilted my head. What? You two look like you're only missing a leash. Gasps spread across the room. Ryan lost control and raised his hand. I was already lifting mine to block when a sudden force burst into the classroom. A kick. Ryan flew backward, slamming into a desk. The entire room froze. Silence. I looked up. A tall boy stood in front of me, shoulders broad, posture reckless yet unshakable. His uniform hung loosely, tie undone, aura wild and defiant. The backlight hit his face, but his presence felt like a wall. "Who gave you permission to touch her?" His voice was low, dangerous. He snatched the envelope from my hand, barely glanced at it, then held it up. Eyes locking onto Ethan. "Something she values," he said slowly, "was never meant for you." Ethan's expression cracked, surprise flashing across his face before turning complicated as he looked. "Pass the boy at me." He opened his mouth. The boy grabbed my wrist gently but firmly. "Emily, let's go." And just like that, he pulled me out of the classroom, leaving behind stunned faces and a storm of whispers. Outside, the noise faded. "Ryan Hayes," I whispered, my throat tight. He froze, then scratched the back of his head awkwardly and laughed. "You still remember me? Guess the school troublemaker has some fame after all." My eyes burned. How could I not remember? Ryan Hayes. The only light that ever reached me when my world was drowning in darkness. The man I loved. The man I lost. The man who once dragged me back from the edge of a rooftop and said, "If you jump, I'll jump too. You don't get to die alone." And now he was standing right in front of me. Alive. Young. 18. Why was he here? And why did my second life begin with the letter he tore apart? Why did he disappear after that day? Why did Ryan Hayes vanish from my sight? Like he had never existed at all? And why did the more I tried to stay calm, the stronger the unease grew inside my chest, like something crucial had already shifted off its original path? After that classroom incident, I didn't see Ryan again for days. Not in the hallways. Not near the gym. Not even around the old storage building where troublemakers usually gathered. It was as if the boy who had kicked someone across a classroom for me had evaporated into thin air. The more rational I became, the more suspicious I felt. After school, I sat alone on the edge of the track field, the bleachers empty, the sky slowly bleeding into dusk. A piece of scrap paper lay on my lap, covered in names and dates I had been writing again and again, trying to reassemble my past life into something I could control. Suddenly, the paper was yanked out of my hands. I looked up sharply. "Give it back." Lily White stood there, lips curved into a delicate smile that never reached her eyes. She was exactly the kind of girl boys worshipped without question. Pale skin, long black hair, a soft voice that always sounded like it needed protection. "Emily Carter," she said sweetly, as if savoring my name. "Hanging onto the childhood friends label with Ethan Brooks wasn't enough, huh? Now you're trying to seduce Ryan Hayes too." Her eyes slid over me slowly. Contempt undisguised. "I really underestimated you." Her voice dropped, poison seeping through every word. No wonder someone who lost her mother so young turned out this twisted. Only trash-like. You would cling to anyone who shows her attention. The slap landed before my mind could catch up. The sound was sharp and clean. Lily screamed, clutching her cheek, eyes wide with disbelief. "Emily, you hit me." I met her gaze calmly. "You spread rumors about me, insult my family, and smear my name right in front of me." My voice was steady cold. "Why wouldn't I hit you?" She lunged forward in rage, then suddenly stopped. A flicker of calculation crossed her eyes. She grabbed my wrist hard, yanked me toward her, and fell backward onto the ground. I raised an eyebrow and turned my head. As expected, Ethan Brooks was running toward us from the far end of the field, breath uneven, panic etched on his face. What he saw was Lily sprawled on the ground and me standing over her. He rushed to her side. "Lily, are you okay?" Then he looked up at me, anger blazing. "Emily, how could you be this cruel?" Apologize to her. Now, if this were my previous life, I would have folded. I would have apologized even if my chest was splitting open. But this time I laughed. "Ethan," I said lightly, "if you don't know how to use your eyes, maybe you should lend them to someone who does." He froze. You didn't even see what happened, I continued, tilting my head. So, what gives you the right to play hero? Or do you actually know the truth? And you just choose to believe whoever you want to believe? His expression darkened. Emily, why are you being so unreasonable? You're nothing like you used to be. Used to be? I cut in. You mean when I swallowed every grievance and apologized to girls you liked, even when I was wrong? I smiled faintly. Too bad. That Emily is gone. Just like the fact that I once liked you. Ethan stiffened. Lily's face twisted for a split second before she hid it behind a pained whimper. It hurts. Ethan immediately turned back to her. I'll take you to the nurse. She glanced at me, pretending to hesitate. But Emily might be upset. He looked at me coldly. Don't worry. I won't let anyone bully you. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just exhaustion. Both of you, I said flatly, stay out of my sight from now on. I pointed at Lily. If you're scared to face me head on, just say it. Acting weak won't make you win. Then I looked at Ethan. And you? Smart everywhere except when it comes to love. You drop your brain the moment emotions get involved. I turned and walked away without looking back. That evening, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. The ringing dragged on. Finally, someone answered. Silence. I spoke first. Mom, I was wrong. My voice trembled despite myself. I miss you. After a long pause, I whispered, can you come home? That night, memories flooded back uncontrollably. I hadn't always been overweight. I once had a complete family, a normal body, quiet and happy days. Everything collapsed the summer of sophomore year when my parents' divorce exploded without warning. My mother demanded it. She never told me why. My father refused, insisting he had done nothing wrong. After a vicious argument, he stormed out into the rain. The car never came back. At the funeral, my mother stood. Before his coffin, eyes dry. That was when something inside me shattered completely. I screamed at her, blamed her, said things I could never take back. The next day, she left money, arranged relatives to look after me, and went overseas to manage Carter Global Holdings. And I fell apart. Food became my only comfort. I stopped caring about my appearance. My mind twisted along with my body. Bullies found me easily. In my previous life, I never told my mother any of this. Not until it was too late. The next day at school, the atmosphere felt wrong. Whispers followed me. Eyes tracked me. When I entered the classroom for evening study hall, the room fell silent for a second before murmurs resumed. Lily White sat in the front row, wiping tears. I almost smiled. Here we go again. Her desk mates suddenly stood up. Don't think we don't know what you did. Give back the diamond bracelet you stole from Lily. Oh, theft this time. I laughed softly. That's new. You're still laughing? The girl snapped. People saw you going through Lily's bag yesterday. I calmly took out my phone and turned on voice recording. Say it again. She froze. If you accuse me without proof, I said evenly, that recording becomes evidence for defamation. She stuttered but didn't dare repeat it. Another student jumped in. Everyone knows Ethan gave Lily that bracelet. You're jealous because you can't have him, so you stole it. The class erupted. I listened quietly, even had the energy to think, diamond bracelet? That's it? Ethan and I used to play with diamonds bigger than that when we were kids. When they demanded to search my desk and bag, I simply held out my hand. Go ahead. They tore my things apart. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Sweat broke out on their faces. She must have sold it already, someone shouted. I smiled. Then let's ask the school to check surveillance footage. Panic flickered. The cameras are broken, they rushed to say. Just then, the homeroom teacher's voice rang out. What's going on? Behind her stood the principal, smiling broadly. He walked straight to my desk. You're Emily Carter, right? Such a good student. First in your grade back in 10th grade. Someone tried to interrupt. Principal, she stole. Enough. His face hardened. Emily Carter's mother just donated an entire academic building to this school. You think she needs to steal jewelry? The room exploded into stunned silence. I raised my phone. By the way, I recently installed a mini camera inside my desk. Every face drained of color. It records everything, I continued, including someone sneaking a bracelet into my bag. I looked at the trembling girl. Want me to play it? Or should I give it directly to the police? She collapsed. The truth spread fast. Lily White's reputation shattered. Mine, quietly transformed. I focused on studying, dieting, exercising, reclaiming my life. But trouble still found me. Ethan blocked my path one afternoon. Emily, we need to talk. Don't call me that, I replied calmly. He grew agitated. You did all this to get my attention, didn't you? Donating money, changing yourself. The slap echoed before he finished. Get lost. Before he could react, Ryan Hayes appeared, fists flying. Watching Ethan crawl away. Broken, I felt nothing but relief. Late May arrived quickly. I had lost weight. My exam scores were solid. Not Ivy League, but a top-tier school. I went to find Ryan at the old storage building and overheard him speaking to empty air. Are you really not going to let Emily know you exist? My blood ran cold. Ryan said softly, I know you're dead and that you don't have much time left. The truth clicked together in my mind like shattered glass forming a blade. Ryan noticed me. Panic flashed across his face. Emily, how long have you been there? Then he smiled, babbling about exam scores and futures. I stared at him, tears falling. Because I understood. The future I remembered didn't have him alive. I didn't interrupt him. I stood outside the storage building, rain-soaked memories crashing against my chest, listening to Ryan Hayes talk to someone who wasn't there, to someone I knew all too well even though I couldn't see him. Are you really not going to let her know? Ryan's voice was low, tense, like he was afraid the walls might hear. I know you're already dead. I know you don't have much time left. But taking away her right to know, isn't that too cruel? My fingers curled slowly. Dead. Already dead. My breathing turned shallow. I know you don't want Emily to suffer, Ryan continued, his voice cracking despite his effort to stay calm. But she's stronger than you think. And even if it hurts, shouldn't she get to choose? There was silence. Long, heavy silence. Then Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Fine. I get it. You've always been like this. Acting tough, pretending you've thought everything through. My vision blurred. I stepped back quietly before he could notice me, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it was going to rip out of my chest. The truth was sharp, merciless, but suddenly everything made sense. Ryan Hayes wasn't the only Ryan here. There was another one. The Ryan who had saved me from the rooftop. The Ryan who had kissed my forehead and told me to wait for him. The Ryan who never came back. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't have the strength. Days passed in a strange calm. Lily White's scandal spread through the school like wildfire. Whispers followed her now instead of me. People who once looked at me with ridicule suddenly smiled, greeted me, tried to be friendly. I didn't care. I counted calories. I ran laps. I buried myself in textbooks. I rebuilt myself piece by piece, because I knew too well what happened when I stopped. Ryan watched me from a distance. Sometimes I'd catch his gaze in the hallway, sharp and conflicted, like he wanted to say something, but didn't know how. Other times he acted like nothing had changed, joking with his friends, pretending to be the same reckless troublemaker everyone expected him to be. But I saw it. The way his eyes followed me. The way his fists clenched when someone spoke my name too casually. The way he flinched whenever fire alarms were tested, even though he laughed it off afterward. One evening, as I was leaving the library, Ryan finally stopped me. Emily. I turned. For a second, he just stared at me, like he was memorizing my face. Then he smiled, awkward and familiar. Your college entrance exams, they're over, right? I nodded. Yeah, that's good. He shoved his hands into his pockets. So, I guess that means we can start thinking about other things now. Other things. My heart tightened. I went to find him 2 days later. The storage building. The place where everything seemed to begin and end. I saw him standing inside, back turned to me, shoulders tense. He was speaking again, his voice low but urgent. I told you she's already strong enough, he said. She doesn't need you protecting her from the truth. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. Ryan. He froze. Slowly, he turned around. Emily? His eyes widened. How long have you? Long enough, I said quietly. The silence between us thickened. His mouth opened, then closed again. He looked scared. Not the fearless, reckless Ryan Hayes everyone knew, but an 18-year-old boy cornered by something far bigger than himself. You heard, he said finally. I nodded. Enough. He ran a hand through his hair, breathing hard. I can explain. I know, I said. There's another you. His pupils contracted. The you from the future, I continued, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. The one who died. Ryan swallowed. He came to you first, I said. Before you ever came to me. His shoulders sagged. A week before I found you in class, he admitted. He appeared in the old underpass near the cemetery. I thought I'd finally lost my mind. What did he say? I asked. Ryan laughed weakly. He said, go find Emily Carter. Protect her. Love her. My chest ached. He told me he didn't regret dying, Ryan continued, eyes reddening. But he regretted one thing. Leaving you alone. I closed my eyes. He said as long as you were safe, he could finally rest. Ryan looked at me like he was afraid I'd break. I didn't want you to know, he said softly. Not like this. I didn't want you to look at me and see a replacement. I took a step closer. You're not a replacement. He flinched. You're you, I said. And he was him. But you were both Ryan Hayes. You both chose me. Tears welled in his eyes. He doesn't have much time left. Ryan whispered. Only I can see him now. Once you were pulled out of the fire, once I almost lost you too, he said his reason for staying was gone. I looked past Ryan at the empty space beside him. I know you're there, I said softly. The air felt warmer for a moment. Ryan's eyes widened. You can't see him, he said quickly. Only here. I don't need to, I replied. I just need him to hear me. My voice trembled. No matter how much time you have left, I'll stay. Even if it hurts. Even if it's unfair. I won't look away. Ryan clenched his fists. Don't say that. You'll just make it harder for him to leave. Then let it be hard, I said. Love was never meant to be easy. For the first time, Ryan Hayes cried. Weeks later, Lily White was formally charged. She had locked the storage building, poured gasoline, and attempted to burn me alive. She had just turned 18 that month. The court showed no mercy. The school whispered. The city gossiped. Her future collapsed the way she once tried to collapse mine. Ryan was hospitalized for burns on his arms and back. I visited him every day. He joked. Complained about hospital food, teased me for counting calories even there. But sometimes, late at night, he'd stare at the ceiling silent. Is he still here? I asked once. Ryan nodded. Yeah. Does he say anything? Ryan smiled faintly. He says, you're even braver than he remembered. After Ryan was discharged, something changed. The air felt lighter. He's gone. Ryan said quietly one evening as we stood outside the hospital. He finally left. I didn't cry. Because I knew. Some people never truly leave. Months passed. Summer ended. College acceptance. Letters arrived. I didn't go to the best school in the country, but I went to a good one. A future I could shape with my own hands. Ryan chose a university in the same city. Coincidence, he said, grinning. Pure coincidence. I laughed. Life moved forward. Until one rainy afternoon. I saw her. She stood under the awning outside a cafe, holding an umbrella, looking older. Too similar. My reflection stared back at me, only a few years ahead. She smiled calmly. Hi. Don't panic. I froze. Who are you? I asked. She tilted her head. I'm you. 6 years from now. Rain pattered softly around us. Before I could react, she dropped a bomb. Ryan Hayes will die in 6 years. I stared at her. My heart barely reacted. So? I said coldly. She wasn't. Surprised. You're calmer than I expected. I don't care about death, I said. I never have. She stepped closer. But, Emily, what if I tell you that if he dies, you'll never recover? Something inside me snapped. My voice shook for the first time. What are you saying? She looked at me with pity. Some futures can be changed. Some only shift shape. I clenched my fists. Then tell me, how do I stop it? She smiled faintly. You don't. The rain fell harder. But you make sure, she continued, that this time, he doesn't face it alone. I opened my mouth. And she vanished. I stood there, soaked, trembling, laughter bubbling up from my chest. So that was it. Fate. Death. Time loops. Fine. If the world insisted on playing this game, then I would too. Because this time, I wasn't the girl who got crushed. I wasn't the girl who stayed silent. And I definitely wasn't the girl who would let love slip through her fingers again. I didn't confront Ryan that day. I couldn't. Because the moment I realized what he was talking to, my legs went weak and my mind refused to accept the truth, no matter how clearly it was laid out in front of me. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw two versions of the same boy. One was standing in front of me, breathing, laughing awkwardly, getting flustered whenever I got too close. The other one was burned into my memory, older, sharper, the man who had once wrapped his arms around me on a rooftop and told me he would never let me die alone. Ryan Hayes was supposed to die at 24. That was the future I remembered. And yet, he was here. At 18. Alive. Reckless. Stubborn. Warm. The next morning, I went straight to class 12B. I didn't knock. I didn't hesitate. I stood in the doorway while dozens of curious eyes turned toward me, and then I saw him. Ryan was sitting in the back row, one leg hooked around the chair, head down, pretending to read a textbook he had never cared about in his life. Ryan Hayes. The moment he heard my voice, he shot to his feet so fast his chair slammed backward with a loud bang. Emily? The teacher wasn't even in yet. Ryan walked toward me, then abruptly stopped, his gaze sweeping across the classroom. His expression changed instantly, sharp and cold. All of you, he said flatly, mind your own business. No one dared to make a sound. Only then did he look back at me, the edge melting away. He reached out instinctively as if to grab my hand, then froze midair and awkwardly tugged at the sleeve of my uniform instead, as if touching me directly would be too much. Come with me. We walked side by side across the quiet campus, past the library, past the gym, until we reached the abandoned storage building again. The place smelled like dust and rust, memories clinging to every corner. Ryan stopped. He took a deep breath. Emily, can I call you that? His voice was tense, like he was standing on a cliff. You already do, I replied softly. I tried to lighten the mood. You don't have to look so nervous every time. You see me. I don't bite. His ears turned red instantly. You do, he muttered. In the future. My heart skipped violently. I stepped closer, grabbed his shoulders, and looked straight into his eyes. Ryan, what did you mean yesterday? He went stiff. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he exhaled, slow and shaky, like someone who had finally decided to stop running. Before I came to find you, I had a dream. I didn't interrupt. There were a lot of people. A lot of scenes. Most of it faded when I woke up. His jaw tightened. But one thing didn't. His eyes locked onto mine. You. My chest felt tight. I dreamed that you were crying on a rooftop, he continued quietly. And I was holding you, yelling at you, telling you not to jump. It felt so real that when I woke up, my hands were shaking. I swallowed. Then I couldn't stop thinking about you. About why I knew your name. About why it hurt. There it was. I told him. Everything. About the future. About the rooftop. About the company he built, Hayes Tech Solutions. About how he went overseas to expand the business. About the riot. About the gunshot. About how I never even got to see his body. When I finished, Ryan was silent for a long time. Then he reached out and wiped my tears clumsily, his hands trembling. "Don't cry," he said, voice breaking. "If you're mad, hit me. It's my fault in the future anyway. Who told that idiot to leave the country?" He forced a crooked smile. "I won't go this time. I promise. Our future won't disappear." I wanted to believe him. Days passed. Rumors faded. My weight dropped steadily. My grades stabilized. For the first time since returning to this life, things felt normal. Until finals ended. I went to the storage building again, smiling, ready to tell Ryan my exam results. But I heard his voice before I saw him. "Are you really not going to let Emily know you're still here?" My steps froze. "I know you're dead," Ryan said hoarsely. "And I know you don't have much time left." The world tilted. I stood outside the door, barely breathing. "I get that you don't want her to suffer," he continued. "But taking away her right to know, isn't that cruel?" Silence. Then Ryan noticed me. He spun around, panic flooding his face. "Emily, how long have you been standing there?" He laughed nervously, talking too fast. "You came to tell me your exam scores, right? Guess what? I passed too. Top-tier university. I'll choose your city. I'll visit you every day. Didn't I promise? Our future." Tears fell onto the concrete floor. I finally understood. The future I remembered hadn't changed. Ryan Hayes was still destined to die. The only difference was that this time, he wasn't alone. I didn't expose him. Not that day. Not when he talked endlessly about the future, about apartments near campus, about learning to cook because I liked warm food, about stupid things that made my chest ache. I just listened. Because I knew now. There were two Ryans. One standing in front of me, alive at 18. And one standing beside him. Invisible to everyone but him. The dead Ryan. The one who had loved me first. A week later, Ryan finally told me the truth. "1 week before I came to find you," he said quietly, "I met myself." He laughed bitterly. Or what was left of me. Ryan Hayes at 24 had appeared in front of him and said only one thing: find Emily. Protect her. Love her. He said the reason he hadn't disappeared yet was probably because he couldn't let you go, Ryan whispered. But now you're strong. You're protected. He thinks it's time. I stared at the empty space beside him. "Is he still here?" I asked. Ryan nodded. I took a breath and spoke to the air. "Ryan." My voice shook. "No matter how much time you have left, I'll stay with you." Ryan 18's eyes turned red instantly. "I know I'm not him." The words came out sharp, wounded. "I know I'll never compare." His eyes, once bright as summer skies, were dim now. "But do you know when I first noticed you?" I stayed silent. "At the cemetery," he said softly. "You were crying at your father's grave. I was visiting my mom. You looked like you were about to break, but when a kid almost got hit by a car, you ran out and saved him without thinking." He laughed weakly. "You were crying 1 second and saving someone the next." I thought, who is this weird, chubby girl? He looked at me, desperate. "Emily, can you stay for me?" I couldn't answer. And that silence broke him. He smiled faintly and stepped back. "I get it." He turned and walked away. I stayed in the storage building until the sky darkened. Then the door slammed shut. Locked. "Who's there?" I screamed. Lily White's voice echoed from outside, distorted, manic. "You're happy now, aren't you? Everyone loves you. And I'm treated like a monster." The smell of gasoline hit my nose. "Without you," she screamed, "everything will go back to how it was." Smoke poured in. I pounded the door, choking. "Lily, this is murder." Her laughter was hysterical. "As long as you die painfully, nothing else matters." My strength faded. Maybe this was it. Maybe I could finally stay with Ryan forever. The door exploded open. Fire roared. Ryan Hayes charged in, wrapped me in his arms, shielding me as he carried me through the flames. His skin burned. He didn't care. "I'm here," he gasped. "Emily, I'm here." For a moment, the two Ryans overlapped. And in that overlap, I saw him. Ryan at 24. Standing in the smoke, smiling softly at me. "I'm sorry," he said. "I still broke my promise. Everything I owe you, let my 18-year-old self repay it. We're the same person. We'll always be with you." Months later, Lily White was sentenced. Arson. Attempted murder. She had just turned 18. Ryan recovered slowly. I never saw Ryan at 24 again. But I knew he hadn't left. Not really. Because the boy beside me learned how to love me exactly the same way. And this time, he survived. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stood there in the shadows outside the old storage building while Ryan kept talking to what looked like empty air, his voice low, tense, cracked in places he didn't know how to hide. "You're really going to disappear without letting her know," he muttered. "I get it. You don't want her to hurt. But taking away her right to know, that's not fair. Not to her." My fingers curled into my palms so hard my nails cut skin. Disappear. Disappear. That word alone was enough to confirm everything I'd been trying to deny. Ryan went on, voice shaking despite his forced calm. "She's stronger now. Stronger than before. And she's not alone anymore. I'm here. So you can finally rest, right?" Something inside my chest collapsed. I stepped forward without thinking. "Ryan." He spun around, panic flashing across his face so fast he couldn't hide it. "Emily? How long were you? How long have I been here?" I finished for him, my voice eerily steady. "Long enough." He froze. The smile he tried to put on next was clumsy, desperate. "You came to tell me your exam results, didn't you?" Guess what? I crushed it. I passed the cutoff for a top university. I know we won't be in the same school, but I'll choose your city. I'll find you every day. We promised. Remember? We have a future. A future. I stared at him, tears falling silently, one after another, darkening the concrete floor. "Yes," I whispered. "A future. But in that future you died." I looked past him, at the empty space beside his shoulder. And I spoke softly, like I was afraid the air itself might shatter. "Ryan, you're still here, aren't you?" Ryan's shoulders stiffened. He didn't turn around, but his eyes reddened instantly. "Yeah," he said hoarsely. "He is." I nodded, like I'd expected that answer all along. Ryan Hayes at 24. The man who pulled me back from the edge of a rooftop. The man who told me if I jumped, he would jump with me. The man who loved me fiercely and died violently in a foreign country while trying to build a future for us. He was here, even if I couldn't see him. "How much time?" I asked quietly. Ryan swallowed. "Not much." I let out a breath that trembled despite all my effort to stay composed. "Then don't hide anymore." Ryan finally snapped. "Emily." I shook my head and stepped closer, looking straight into the empty space beside him. "I know you're trying to protect me. I know you think disappearing quietly is better. But you were never good at leaving without saying goodbye." The air felt heavy. Then, slowly, Ryan's gaze softened. His posture relaxed, like someone had finally taken a burden off his back. A familiar warmth brushed across my forehead. I couldn't see him, but I felt him. A gentle kiss, just like before. "I'm sorry." A voice echoed inside my chest, not in my ears. I broke my promise again. I smiled through my tears. "You already came back once. That's enough." Silence wrapped around us, thick and aching. Then Ryan at 18 suddenly spoke, his voice breaking. "I know I'm not him." I turned to him. His eyes were dark, conflicted, burning with pain he was too young to carry. "I know I can't replace him. But Emily, I met you long before you ever noticed me." I waited. "The first time," he said slowly, "was at a cemetery." My breath hitched. "You were crying at your father's grave." "I was visiting my mom." "You cried so hard you could barely stand." I thought, wow, two unlucky people in one place. He gave a small, self-mocking laugh. "Later, on the way out, you didn't even notice me. But you noticed a kid who almost got hit by a car. You ran out and grabbed him without thinking. You were shaking, sobbing, but you still saved someone else." His fists clenched. "That was when I knew. You weren't weak. You were just hurting." He looked at me, eyes raw. So I watched you. Quietly. And when I finally had the courage to step closer, I was already too late in the original timeline. My heart ached. And now, he asked, voice barely holding together. Can you really leave me behind again? I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I looked once more at the empty space beside him. Go, I said gently. You've done more than enough. The air shifted. A warmth spread, then slowly faded, like sunlight slipping past the horizon. I'll always be with you, the voice whispered one last time. In every version. Then, nothing. Ryan at 18 collapsed his knees, shaking, tears falling freely for the first time. Weeks later, Lily White was sentenced. She had just turned 18 when she locked me inside the storage building and set it on fire. Attempted murder. Arson. No excuses. No sympathy. She would spend the rest of her youth behind bars. Ryan spent months in recovery. Burns healed slowly, but he healed. I waited. I trained my body. I rebuilt my mind. I stopped running from the past. And one rainy afternoon, while walking home, Ryan stopped under an awning and laughed. Funny, he said. I once met someone who looked just like me, older, more annoying. I smiled softly. Some futures are warnings. Some are second chances. This time I chose to live. Not for revenge. Not for regret. But for myself. And for the love that crossed time twice to find me. The end.